Welcome to this new tutorial on how to make an essentially free movement tray for Warhammer Fantasy. I may need to change my name to the Cheapskate Dad, but basically my son and I are just starting to get into fantasy. My youngest daughter's expressed some interest. I bought a bunch of used models, and one of the things that came with it is this little 20-man movement tray. So I started thinking, well, what can I do to make some on the cheap? And so a buddy recommended doing sprues. So I did do one with sprues here. I haven't quite finished it up. I need to cut that off. But then I had one of those little epiphanies. The measuring things you get in all of these different starter kits that I don't know, I threw the first one away. I wish I hadn't now. But I looked at them, they've got a nice shape, they're relatively straight, you don't have to clip all the stuff off like the sprues. You got to clean them up real good, they work good. But I decided I'd use those instead. And then the other little bit on these is if you lay them flat like this, you can actually, they will hold, they're almost perfect for the GW bases. Let's see if I can do. So that's the way I did it. And so the very short version, if you wanted for this tutorial, is I had these laying around free. I had some sprue laying around free. I'm partly done with this. And then I had some leftover plastic card from another project. This is just 1/2 millimeter plastic card. And that's really everything you need, with a little bit of glue and some scissors and an X-Acto knife. And so what I did is, first thing I did is I laid out 5 just random figures side to side to get my size. Cut the first piece a little longer than your 5 because you'll trim them up here in a little bit. And then I laid them 4 back to back to get the size I wanted, and again I cut it a little bit long. And then you take this piece here, let me see if I can show you, and you trim it a little bit on the bias to match up here. It's a little bit of trial and error. And then you just glue them together, and then you glue it down to the plastic card. And first time I was really careful about, okay, I'm going to measure this out. I cut out my plastic card, I glued it on there, you know, it came out pretty darn close. However, then I realized with this one, I made it, I just glued it to the plastic card, and then I'm going to cut it to shape, and I just haven't cut this one to shape yet. And then so when all is said and done, after you do that, you've got a very simple movement tray. If you really wanted, you could actually magnetize the bottom of this, and there you go. And this one is 20 deep. You can make it any size you want. So do not throw away those silly little GW measuring sticks that you get out of the starter kit boxes. They're very useful, and yet another example of how to deal with sprue. Before I go into actually doing it, the one thing with the sprue is it's a little harder to deal with. I did not shave these down. I didn't finish these for 2 reasons. One, I wanted you to be able to see what it looked like before it was finished, and 2, I haven't figured out how I'm going to do my bases. But you can see I have not sanded or done anything with the sprue yet, but it also, sprue also has a little bit of that angle, so you can do it either way you want. I just happen to I like the fact that I can get a little bit of that lip under even with the sprue. Sprue one is a little harder. I decided to keep this curve just because I didn't feel like gluing it. Probably better to just do multiple straight pieces. But there you go. So it also works with the sprue. And once I've decided how I'm going to base these rats, then I will finish the movement trays as well. Alright, come back and I'll do one from scratch. Okay, the first step is to cut your first piece of sprue, and to do that I just sort of randomly measured 5 fantasy bases, and then I want it to be a little bit long. So actually, I'm probably not even going to bother cutting this unless I can get it in half to make it these, which Probably not, so I'm just going to leave it here. Then the next step is to take 4, just the length of 4 of them, just to make a 20 movement tray. And again, going to cut it a little bit long. Got to leave that little tapered edge off. So I've just measured out, so I'm going to do it about that long. And for me, I mean, you can do it any way you want. I've found, you know, sprue cutters work, and actually for this part it probably doesn't matter that much. I've just found that I gotta lock this down. Went the wrong way. This seemed to work pretty well. Sprue cutters are probably the easiest thing to do for this stage, but this comes out much easier later. Just be really careful with your fingers. And it's actually time for me to, I need to change this blade out. So let me try it with sprue cutters real quick, and then I'll pop out the blade. And you know, I haven't tried it with sprue cutters. This may be even easier way to do this. Yep, except that it shoots across the room that way. So, alright, now I got my 3 pieces. First thing to do is to take this side. Now remember, you can do it this way if you want. I roll them upside down so that I have that lip. I'm going to do them end to end this way. You could do them end to end this way. It doesn't really matter. I think I'm going to try them end to end this way so that it's not out on the front like that one. And then let me change, get rid of this front blade real quick. Alright, I'm back. So then all I do is, you know, you measure out your angle, what you think it's going to be. My fingers are getting old, and my fingers getting. So you know you need about that angle. This is really just sort of trial and error. And I just shave it slowly over several tries. You just keep looking at it. It's hard to do this with the camera because I did it right at the edge of the table where I can, because I've got this big fat X-Acto blade, it's easier to do it at the edge, but that doesn't help you. Okay, measured out. Okay, that angle's a little too steep. Now you see why I did it. Cut it long. It's just trial and error when you get it to something you like. It's not quite where I want it. I kind of look under the camera now. Makes it a little harder. Alright, that looks pretty good. So now, I mean, you have set up like that. I think you get the idea. I don't know if I'm going to be able to focus in on this very well or not. Okay, you see. Alright, goes together just like that. And let me do the other one. I'll glue them together. Or let me do the other one and then I will be back. So of course the one I cut off screen goes lickety split without any problems whatsoever. So basically the first thing is you glue the first one together, and then that'll give you your size for the second one. So I just use regular super glue. This is a very old bottle. I'm hoping that it's still open. Now when you cut it, make sure you cut it facing this way when you're doing the shaving. If you shave it that way, you end up with it backwards and the lip is gone. Trust me, it happens. If it happens, I can make it happen. And then, just for the sake of today, I guess I normally don't. Accelerator's great. It does make the bonds a little more brittle. But for the purposes of this, and because go ahead and do it. So let me let this dry just for a few minutes. Oh, oops. Well, I'm gonna let this dry for a few minutes, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I had to take the dog out. Another option you have is you can just glue it straight to the plastic card instead of trying to glue it together, and that's probably even easier than doing it this way. But I went down this road, and I will do it, finish doing this way. Wait till your glue is dry, or your models will stick to it, and mine might since I haven't waited. Then what you need to do is just measure out, put your 5 models in there, measure out. I'm probably going to do the whole oh, and I almost did something, see? That was for demonstration purposes only. You need to measure out where it's going to go, and then make your mark. Okay, and just be careful because these already have the marks on them for the inches. Don't confuse them when you do your cutting. So now I can get rid of my models. Then then you can just cut it. Watch this go flying across the room. I still even like to cut it just a hair big. And now we'll glue this one on, and you don't need to watch that, but I'll glue that together, and then we'll be back for the next step. Okay, for this part I decided to go ahead and just do it, show you the glue onto the plastic card. Now you don't have to use plastic card. Anything you got around the house is free. This is 0.5mm plastic card. You could use cereal box, whatever works well for you and whatever you have laying around. So basically all you do when you do it this way is a little bit of glue on the edge, and a little bit of glue. That was too much. Still early morning, haven't had enough coffee. The one thing, if you do it this way, one thing you have to remember is go ahead and cut and trim everything ahead of time, because once it's glued down on the plastic card, it's really hard to square up the edges in the back and trim stuff up. And then I'll let that dry. I'm just going to do it quick. You don't want to get your models too close to it because you don't really want to end up gluing them to your plastic card. So that'll fit. Let that dry. I'll come back and finish up in a little bit. Alright, so the last step is a very simple one. It's just cutting it to size. So this is generally waste product, so you don't have to be too terribly careful. And you can trim it up after the fact. Oh, I guess I didn't wait for it to dry enough. But that's okay. Then once you get it cut up to size, you could magnetize the bottoms if you wanted. You can do whatever you want. But there you have it. A cheap and easy Warhammer Fantasy Movement Tray, which cost you virtually nothing to build. Being a little weary because I didn't gotta let that one dry. And then just cut it to whatever size you want, and there you have it. Now let me just let that dry the rest of the way, and I will throw it in my pile of movement trays. Alright, till next time, this is the end of this very quick report. Remember, you can do it out of anything you want. You can do it out of sprues, you can do it out of Plasticard, cereal boxes, whatever you feel like. And quick free trays that aren't $10 a pop. Alright, till next time, thank you.